Hi, everyone. It is December 17, 2017. I wanted to pass along this article that was posted on Activist Post December 10, more about California fires. And I also want to point out who wrote this article, Catherine Frompovich. I believe that she is in her 70s. She has been writing prolifically for over 35 years. She has written so many articles that they're just too numerous to list anymore. She is widely published, certainly on the internet, websites, but the published articles go back to, they go back even earlier than 2010, but she has been writing about vaccines, about GMOs, about many of the dangers, the poisons, the toxins that we all are now saturated in. These are just some of the articles that she has written. And she has been very, very, very outspoken in written form, but probably outspoken as well, just verbally, about the vaccine madness. And here we have this site, the Encyclopedia, of American Loons. Catherine Frompovich is an anti-vaccine loon. I am so unbelievably sick of so many people in this country. And they claim that she doesn't have the proper qualifications to write about vaccines. In fact, they go so far as to say the diagnosed fuming conspiracy theorist. As such, she has made a name for herself among other fuming conspiracy theorists and the darker parts of comment sections on health-related articles. Crazy as shit. And anyone who ever cites any of her stuff has automatically lost whatever argument they were engaged in and should be laughed at out of the room. And of course, nothing here is substantive. Nothing supports anything. I mean, it's the dumbing down. The dumbing down of this country has been frightening. But how is it that someone like Catherine Frompovich, in her 70s, is awake to not only the vaccines, but to an awful lot of the agendas that are taking place that have been implemented over the years? She writing about genetically modified foods, how our food supply has been taken over. She writing on cell phone towers and cell phones and microwave frequencies, the dangers. Here she is writing about these fires in California, how they are not natural, that Californians better wake up, as she does at the end here. Wake up, people of California and the world. These are not photographs of natural fires. They indicate possible EMPs, laser activity, or even thermonuclear activity, anything reminiscent of 9/11. So what makes the difference between a Catherine Frompovich and another, well, let's make it very specific, another Californian who lost their home in these fires, the same age as Catherine Frompovich, same generation, and they choose to not engage in conversation, look at the facts and evidence, even acknowledge the obvious, that something is very wrong with these fires. I don't know. I've had a lot of conversations with subscribers over the years in terms of what makes the difference. Some people leave comments saying, well, we who are older know what we had. We can see the difference. The younger generations can't. Well, that's not true. Thanksgiving, I went to a friend's, and there were her nephew and his girlfriend 21 years of age, he 24 years of age, they both in college, and they're quite awake. They know about the vaccines, they know about the chemtrails, they know about so much. And yet others, well, they actually said that so many they can't even talk to in their peers, those that they go to college with. They're so sick of the PC liberal bullshit. I don't know what makes the difference. I don't know. It's not race, it's not religion, it's not age, it's not gender, it's not education. We have the highly educated who are aware, and then we have people who don't even have a high school diploma who are aware. So I can only speculate. Those who are aware have a certain amount of courage to take in reality. Maybe there's an awful lot of people who are just too scared to look at the fact that their own government is attacking them. Their own government is making them sick. Their own government is destroying this country, destroying Americans. Maybe there's an awful lot of people who refuse to acknowledge that real evil exists in the world. Really, just evil. And when you don't acknowledge it, that evil can really flourish. And then there are people who realize, perhaps unconsciously, that if they do begin to acknowledge what is taking place, it will mean for them, perhaps, that their lives will change. They will feel, yeah, not as comfortable as they have been living. It may unconsciously mean that they'll have to grow up, take responsibility, and engage in a fight against the enemy, the real enemy, which is not the conspiracy theorists. The real enemy is government. But then you have an awful lot of these statists who can't think outside the box. They are absolutely 100% dependent on government. They believing that government is necessary. They believing that government has the answers. It's government that hires the experts and gets things done. Well, look at this picture. They sure do get things done. It is profoundly upsetting to me that now, as we go forward, the only thing that we can do is just try our best to make others aware, circulate information, educate others. But yes, we are collapsing under the weight of great evil, but also under the weight of great ignorance. These videos here are important videos. They certainly do provide a lot of evidence that these fires are not natural. I'm going to play just a few minutes of this video, and I hope that you watch them. I hope that you circulate them and download these videos so that you always have them, because the internet has been changing. We see that. Google is the master censor, and Google is getting rid of an awful lot of information. Oh, you forgive yourself by realizing that nobody can act beyond their level of consciousness. You know, when I say the word consciousness, people think I'm a New Ager. I wasn't even a New Ager back in my 20s when the New Age religion, philosophy appeared on the scene. Everybody was, wow, oh, all of these people, and all of the books, and the names are escaping me, but people looking up to them as if they were their gurus. And in New York City, I was fortunate enough to have pretty much access to hearing a lot of these gurus. Jesus, I can't even think of the woman, and I can see her in my mind's eye. I cannot think of her name. Oh man, am I tired of my brain. Yep. The fact is that many of us are going down. It's really sad to live this. Got to put you on hold to get her, to get the name. Course in Miracles. Marianne Williamson. I cannot believe, it's like I have to dig now to try to remember things that should just kind of come to me, a snap of the finger. All right, I went to hear Marianne Williamson with my friends, and everybody was so wowed with all of this. And as I'm listening to her, I'm thinking, what am I hearing? It sounded like it was a course in how to justify self-centeredness. And I intuitively know that the spiritual road is not about finding a way to live comfortably, finding a way to love yourself, finding inner peace. The spiritual road is not comfortable. There's nothing comfortable about it. It's extremely painful. It's the stripping of your own ego, the stripping of your own pretense that you're living. It's the reevaluating over and over and over again how you live, how you think. Do you actually just talk, or do you walk your talk? It's about living honestly, speaking honestly. It puts you on such a narrow road where suddenly you find yourself looking around and you're like, oh my God, I'm alone. It's not about materialism. So I said, was it intuitive, or was it that book that was handed to me when I first came into AA by a woman who became a friend, and she gave me a book called Spiritual Materialism. And I was fortunate in having so many people put me on a path that was real, as opposed to having met the people to put me on a path that was walking away from truth and reality. I hope I've made sense. But yeah, foundation for inner peace. These new age philosophies are so about you, you. Focus on you, focus on you, focus on you, focus on you. And the positive thinking so that you can live your life ignoring the quote unquote negative, all of the suffering in the world. It's not about developing genuine compassion and caring. It's about putting on another false identity that sounds so loving and just so soft and so positive. And so, yeah, it takes a lot of work, and it's painful work to raise your level of consciousness. These new age philosophies cement you in a low level of consciousness, and it allows you to tell yourself that you're just absolutely wonderful at that low level of consciousness. New Age allows you to justify anything that you do, that you think, how you live. Well, Mark Passio said it, New Age bullshit. So no, consciousness is not about uh, New Age. And those who write those comments, well, clearly you've not done the work to raise your level of consciousness to actually recognize that there are so many levels. There are so many levels. And life, yeah, for me, I'm sorry, it's about growing, it's about maturing, it's about raising my level of consciousness. And once you do see, oh my God, when you were at that lower level, no, you couldn't act because you were all about you. It's a very selfish, self-centered level where your consciousness is an ego consciousness. Everything is driven by your own self-centered desires. You're not aware of that. And you could be doing all these fabulous things for people and for animals and for whatever, but you're still at a low level of consciousness. You're still ego driven. Much of what you do is to get approval from those around you so that they can say, wow, aren't you a great person? Look how selfless you are. But bumping that level of consciousness up that's when you start acting genuinely, truly. And in the process of bumping your level of consciousness up, you begin to strip yourself of that ego. You begin to strip yourself of the pretense that you are living. You begin to strip yourself of the need for approval. And then suddenly the care, the compassion, the love, it all becomes so real in you that you feel this force and it compels you. It compels you. You can't not speak out. You can't not act. You've got to act. So we do have an awful lot of people who are aware of what's taking place, but they just don't act because they're not at that level of consciousness yet. So we have a lot of people suffering the consequences of these agendas because most people are not at that level where they can act. They can't even act in their own best interest because they're all about living comfortably.
In the blink of an eye, there's fire everywhere. And then charging out of these flames comes this bear on fire. It was the most beautiful and terrible thing I've ever seen. Sooner or later, the fire's gonna come knocking at our hometown. I want y'all to breathe in this beautiful vista, because you're never gonna be able to look out into the wilds and see that pure beauty again. This ain't the greatest job in the world. I don't know what is.
What is that?
Fire's threatening homes and people's lives. On the Granite Mountain. There it is. Your hot shots.
The fire gets past our line, it goes to our town.
Burn over seconds away. It's gonna feel like the end of the world. As long as you can breathe, you can survive. We're gonna take the fire head on and save our town. Come on.
No, Harris.
No one could be prouder of his boys than I am of you guys.
So
This ain't the greatest job in the world. I don't know what is.
What is that?
Fire's threatening homes.
okay, so they released this film right as these California fires begin to hit, and you see all the flying embers into the town. Is it a coincidence that now we're hearing reporters over and over say it's the flying embers from the fires? No, it's not a coincidence. Um,
Have been playing with this thing. Alleged to, right?
Yeah.
Now, we realize that for decades now, these governments have.
CFR, Council of Foreign Relations, this guy right here. Not sure about this one. Can't remember their names. Alleged to. Come on, Mishu. Say alleged. Americans can't see how their information is being controlled by mainstream media.
Have been alleged to have experimented with weather control, but nothing conclusive. This time we're digging into laws of physics rather than simply waving our hands and uttering mumbo jumbo. We're actually using trillion-watt lasers now.
And remember what Dane Wigington said. They're just experimenting on one big laser and it's ground-based. Really. So our community, unfortunately, has become a place where you can't trust one another. Judy Wood calling everybody stupid for thinking that these fires had anything to do with directed energy weapons. The work has to be done within ourselves. So you can have somebody who is incredibly knowledgeable about what is taking place. You could have somebody like Judy Wood who, did the work to write the book about the possible use of directed energy weapons on 9/11. But you will see the low level of consciousness in these people when they come out and say these things. And when they are coming out and saying these things, like in such a derogatory, insulting manner towards so many people who have questioned the use of directed energy weapons, well, that leaves me thinking, what I understand what low level of consciousness does to us. It really does keep us incredibly immature. So I can't go to say definitively that this person is, a disinformation agent, this person is controlled opposition, because there's so many factors that take place within an individual, and without the evidence to support those claims, we are just left with speculating why they come out and say these things. But the fact is that you could have someone with a low level of consciousness, and because they're still at that level, they will be as dangerous as the person who's controlling the opposition. They can be as dangerous as the disinformation agent. They can be as dangerous as mainstream media reporters, because they will come out and say things that break down the trust within their own relationships, but also within this community. And without trust, we're getting nowhere.
Laser of the power of 1 watt. And if you don't want to use your energy to strike your match, you can just hold it in the beam of light. A 1 watt laser can light a match. Imagine then the power of a 500 trillion watt laser. That's exactly what they've built here at the National Ignition Facility in California, where engineers have just finished constructing the laser to end all lasers.
In an interview aired by CBS, Dr. Kaku admitted that recent homemade hurricanes have been the result of government weather modification programs in which the skies were.
All right. I just want to say that he did not admit what so many people were claiming that he admitted that recent man-made hurricanes have been the result of a government weather modification program. None of that is true. So it's unfortunate that people actually say these things. It's not true. He did say, and it was during that interview on CBS, that, yeah, there are lasers and they can shoot these lasers and create rain. But if you listen to this interview, you will see that he does not admit any of that. So I don't understand how people can actually make those claims, but because it's not true. And when you claim things that are not true, you're lying. So when I have seen people start off saying, whether it's an article that I'm reading or hearing a video, when somebody comes out and says that this guy who I can't stand, of course I understand that he's one of the evil, but when I see them leaping to saying that he admitted government programs with modification, that's when I lose confidence in them and I stop going. I don't read articles. I don't see the videos, because I see that kind of mind that can twist and spin things just as mainstream media has. Now, we all know that there are weather modification programs out there. Okay. But let's say that we're trying to wake somebody up, and then they go check out this interview where Mishu Kaku has admitted that our government made these hurricanes and have these weather modification programs. And then they go and listen to that interview and they say to themselves, they are crazy. He's not saying that. So how can they claim that he's admitting it when it's clear that he hasn't admitted it? You lose people that way. They just will turn off. And it will only confirm what they have thought about you, that you are crazy. I just saw a video posted, which I'm astounded. 175 scientists and 10 journalists and, I don't know, bankers. Within 24 hours, they all died. Do they just do this to get the click bites? Maybe. But it was so. Then he's reading an article and it shows that the scientist had died over the years, but he writes in his title 24 hours. Within 24 hours. So if we don't have control over our own thought processes, if we don't have control over our own brain, and if our brain is putting out what is not true, it is very easy to discredit all of those within this community. And unfortunately, people do have the brains that kind of put people in categories. Oh, we're the truther community? I friggin' hate that term. But that's what we are, right? Truthers? As if those who are not truthers are, I guess, liars. All of these friggin' labels, I can't stand them. But when people do post things like this, then we're all discredited. And that's why you have to keep in mind that whatever it is that is important to you, let's say you're a Christian, then you are an example of a Christian and you represent that community. If you're an alcoholic who's recovering in AA, you are an example of a sober human being, but you represent Alcoholics Anonymous. If you are someone who is and lives by, who is someone who regards truth as important, well, if you haven't gotten to the place where truth is the most important thing in life, but if you say that you are someone within this community, that you regard truth as something sacrosanct, then you have to live your life as an example for others. And be very careful of the comments that you leave. Try not to leave comments that are presumptuous, that are just, founded on presumption, facts that you make up about other people. You have to be very careful about how you title videos. You have to be very careful not to leap to, okay, one could, infer from what this crazy Kaku guy was saying that yes, our government is involved in weather modification. But to come right out and say, makes a shocking confession when that was not what happened at all, then you're lying. And yes, the truth is, it's very hard. I think that's why so many people, just kind of cling on to this new age crap, because that is rather easy. The truth is unbelievably demanding, and it does require of you to pay attention to literally everything that you say, whether in written form, in verbal form. And that doesn't mean that you're going to hit perfection. But every time you make a mistake, you have to come out immediately and correct that mistake. So this video is very good. It's an awful lot of information, evidence that supports, yeah, these fires definitely not natural at all. And here's another one. I mean, they have, or I'm sorry, this might be someone else's video that was a copy of the one that I just showed you. But look, okay, here we have cars that have been so unbelievably destroyed, flipped over. It's in the home that burned down. And you'll see in this video that there's an awful lot of cars that, well, people were saying, well, a car that ignites on fire and the gas tank explodes, it'll flip over. There's a lot of pictures of cars overturned and the gas tank is still intact. All of the links are below. We, I guess, continue to just march on and try to get this information as widely circulated as possible. I hope you all have a good day.